All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the second book club, the virtual book club. Today we're talking about the War of Arts by Steven Pressfield. I almost said the Art of War again. So yay, excited. I'm joined by two co-hosts today, and why don't we just go around and introduce ourselves, starting with Anna.
Hi all, I'm Anna. I welcome you from Dublin in Ireland at 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm a life coach and job interview surgeon, so I help people, especially women, prepare for the job interview and cut out through everything that they think is wrong. Just cut it out and replace it with something that works properly. So that's basically what I do, and I just discovered it by absolute chance, and I didn't want to do it at all. And then I landed with that gig and interviewed the first person, and I just sat down and thought, this is brilliant. I love it. So that's how things happen. Yeah, so that's me.
Mm-hmm. All right, Hilda?
Hi, my name is Hilda. I'm in North Carolina in the United States, and by day I'm a director of food safety for a produce company, or I was until 2 days ago, and then I quit so that I could start my own business. So, and that's life coaching, what I'm trying to do. I actually first learned about coaching because I do Beachbody programs like Insanity and P90X. You might have heard of them. And they had like a network marketing for where they call themselves coaches. So I signed up for that, and because I didn't know what network marketing was. But anyway, then I found out about life coaching. I was like, that's what I want to do. So I'm pursuing that now.
Awesome. Super exciting. So you just started with coaching?
Yeah, very recently. I'm actually going to do some coach training with an academy called Beautiful You.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, I'm starting that in October, but I'm trying to just get going because I was sick of my job and I wanted to do what I wanted to do. So.
Yeah. Well, congrats. That's awesome.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah. And me, my name is Camila Gornia. I am a business coach, and I focus on marketing and mindset, specifically online marketing and mindset. And I really I work with passion-driven solopreneurs for the most part, as well as entrepreneurs. And I also am a social media strategist on agency side, photographer, and a wellness blogger. So I do quite a bit with my free time. I pretty much have no free time, and I like it this way. So that's pretty much me, and I'm the main host, and you are on my website right now if you're watching, so that's me. So today we're talking about, again, the War of Arts, which was a really interesting book, and I know it was shorter than the one we did for the first one. For the first one, we talked about the fire starter sessions, which was like the mother of all books, because I don't even know why we chose that as like, you can't read it all at once. It was just like, you can't do it. But the War of Art was short and sweet, and I read it in a couple of days of commuting, and I like that. You guys finished the book, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
Who goes first?
You can go first.
I really liked it. I heard about it before, but I didn't really know what to expect. And I think what surprised me the most, because that book's been out for a while. Let me have a look. When was it actually published? Where do I have that? Oh God, I'm all blind now. 2002, my version is. So that's been out for a while, and I think what surprised me the most, a lot of things that I heard from people that I follow or kind of I'm interested in, like the thought leaders, a lot of things that I heard from them, and I thought that's something that they came up with, were actually from this book. So that was quite interesting, and I was reading it thinking, I heard that somewhere. So it's a lot of these golden nuggets. So that's what I really liked. What you mentioned as well, the book is short and sweet and to the point. And there's no kind of messing around. It's just, this is what it is. Take it or leave it. Yeah. So I really, really liked it. It just tells you how it is. If you don't like it, drop it.
Yeah. It's like a good reference book too, because you just kind of can flip through. Well, for me, I had it on the Kindle, but it's like the chapters are like barely even chapters. They're so short. Like when I first opened it, I wasn't used to it, because usually there's a lot of fluff and just like explaining stuff and before they get to the point of it. But this is just straight up like, this is what's going on. This is what's wrong. This is how you fix it. I was just like, wow, he's speaking my language. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So that was cool. What did you think, Hilda?
I really loved it. I'd heard of it before too, and I had the same feelings when I was going through it. I was like, I've heard this before, and like Marie Folio and Danielle Laporte and all those people. But it really helped me because I was, I guess, afraid. I had a lot of resistance going on, and I didn't realize it, and it's like really opened my eyes. So I'm really grateful that I read the book, because it started me on the path that I am now. Because before I was like afraid to quit my job. I was afraid to write because I thought people would hate it. I was afraid to, do all the things I want to do. But this book, it like really helped me get it.
We have to text Mr. Pressfield now and tell him you changed your whole career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, if you guys are on the website, CamilleGornia.com/book-club, you can tweet a pre-written tweet, and he is actually tagged in that. So if we can all tweet, maybe he'll like know that we're doing it and give you a thumbs up for having such a big influence. So you guys should do it sometime during this too. So what did you guys think of the outline, like in terms of how it was? Like I said, the chapters are very short and sweet and kind of like to the point, and there's three like sections, and from what I remember, the first two are just more like solution based and kind of like talking about resistance and things like that, and then the last part is more like spirituality, kind of universe talking and things, which I completely did not expect from him, because he's so straightforward. But I really liked it because I felt like, I don't know, for me, I belong to a lot of like different entrepreneurial groups, and there's either the very straightforward person, or there's the very like woo-woo kind of spiritual person, and I always felt like I didn't really belong to either, because I feel like I'm definitely more analytical and like still creative, but just more solutions, and like I want to just fix things, and like here's A to B and kind of move forward. But I also have that kind of side of thinking that there's the universe and like all that kind of stuff, what he was talking about. So it was really nice for me to see that it's okay to blend the two together, whereas a lot of times you just see like one extreme or the other extreme, which I didn't really resonate with. What did you guys think of the specifically the last the more woo-woo kind of part of the book?
I really loved it. I just read that last bit the past couple days, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, because I love the analytical, but then when he started bringing in the spiritual and to me it was like manifesting and all that stuff, and I was like, this is great, because to me people think you can only be one or the other, and you can be both. So it was great to see that in his book.
Yeah, definitely. Anna?
Do you know what? I am a bit of a woo. I actually have kind of my own waves of it. Sometimes I'm more woo than other times.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, it kind of comes and goes. Sometimes you believe in the universe, and sometimes I actually don't know if there's something out there. It's just, I think depending on what your path is in life, depending where you are. But I actually felt the resistance reading it. I was like, and I read it twice, because I read it first when I was writing my assignment on the book for my life coaching diploma. So I read it first, And once I got to the last stage, I was like, this is a bit too much for me. I don't like the whole angels thing, and like I really respect everybody's belief, but the part about the angels and all that, I was like, that's a bit too much for me. But I think the second around now, when I read it, and I focused on more on, he says it's impartial force, and everybody wants to believe in what they want to believe it is. So I actually read it, but with Robert McKee's opinion in mind. If you remember at the start, Robert McKee has a foreword to the book. And that's one of the points he doesn't agree with Steven Pressfield. And he says that he believes that it's not the muses, but it's more our talent or our subconscious that brings creativity. So once I kind of start to look at it more like Robert McKee, then I was like, okay, I can accept it a bit more. But the same as you, Camila, I was reading the book and it was all fine, and that came out of nowhere. It was just funny because I feel like, oh, where's that coming from? But it was good too, and even though maybe it didn't sit with me as well the first time round, it was really cool to have it there, to see it as somebody else's perspective, that it's not all very strategic. You do this, that. You're just bringing another layer to it. So I appreciated it for that a lot.
Yeah, I definitely felt resistance while reading it, and even before reading it, like I put it off till the last minute. Like it was so crazy. Like he was talking about all the resistance stuff. I was like, man, I feel like he's calling me out for not reading this. Yeah, definitely. I want to hear actually more about the assignment that you mentioned that you wrote. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. It was actually a really funny story because I was on holidays, and I had this assignment due for my diploma in life coaching, and I knew it was a very short time to get it all done. So I was actually working on my holidays. But I picked up the book and I was so interested by it, and I just flew through it. So my take on was exactly how do you, maybe focusing more on how to pass through that resistance and that fear. What can you take out from that book? And writing as well about that there's nothing, well, maybe not nothing, but it's not as mysterious, the process of creation. It's not as mysterious as we used to think. Let's say back a few centuries ago, a creator or an artist was, seen as somebody who is special because they have that gift. So they were seen as something slightly different than common people. But I think Pressfield is demystifying it a little bit. So he says, if you have any spark in you, anybody can be creative, really. What it differs from common people is actually sitting down and devoting your time to it and showing up and doing the work. So there's nothing like you are more creative or you're more talented than me. I'm as creative as you, but you just find time and you sit down and commit to it, whether I necessarily not do that,
I think that's a really interesting way to look at it too, because a lot of times, we kind of find excuses that we're not, creative enough, or we're not this enough, or whatever. Like we can't do, like, oh, I wish I could do projects on, I don't know, whatever it is. Maybe I want to write a book, or like I wish I could write a book, but I'm not a writer. I'm not very creative. I can't really just do it. And it's like, but I really want to, but it's not going to happen. And you just like, instead of, all the excuses that you're wasting your time thinking of, you might as well just sit down and actually write. And yeah, he was, and I really enjoyed that he was very straightforward with it and saying that it doesn't really get easier. Like he still battles it pretty much every day. Like he still has those thoughts like coming in, like, man, I don't know if I feel like doing this. It's not really going anywhere, yada, yada, yada. And it took him a while to even publish a book, like the first one he wrote. Remember, and he went, I think he like secluded himself and he just was gonna write, and so he committed to writing, and then the book went nowhere. Like it was just complete, nothing happened with the book. But he's still, just the fact that he actually finished the book, he felt so proud of himself. And, you know, it was kind of that intrinsic motivation too, like going to psychology. That's really, you know, it proves that intrinsic motivation, which is the motivation that comes from within, is so much more satisfying to you and your soul than the external motivation that's like, how are people look at me? Am I gonna feel like, how are they gonna praise me for this, and things like that, which is often the motivation that we have predominantly for the things that we do, but then it just never satisfies us enough, especially when we have someone that does something negative about what we're doing and we kind of feel really hopeless and like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, and that's kind of I feel like I just went on a total tangent for a second. I tend to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what this book causes, because sorry, I think it's really cool because it gives you like a little one-liner or something, but it's so to the point and so packed with information. It's very charged with emotional value. So it gives you one-liner, but it just spins off, like it just starts your train of thoughts and it gets into something bigger and bigger. So I think like he's very good writer in that sense that he doesn't have to go all flowery and write something for a whole page. He gives you one liner to start you off, and this is enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Hilda? What are your thoughts on the stuff we just pretty much rambled on?
Well, what you were talking about, like looking to others for approval. I mean, he discusses that as one way that resistance manifests itself. And I mean, your tangent wasn't really a tangent. You were talking about the book, so I mean, and it's true. Like for me, like the fear of rejection and how people view me, that caused a lot of resistance in my life for so long. And there was one part where he talked about how sharing your dreams pretty much with people can cause resistance. So,
yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah, that was that little bit that he talked about that. It's because you get so excited and you want to share it, but then you have all these people around you who might start to bring you down. So you have to be careful that you keep it to yourself and or share it with people who won't bring you down. So.
Yeah, that's huge, actually. Yeah, one of the first blog posts I wrote was about accountability. And I didn't really get into this too much because I was going to write another blog post, but sharing it with other people for accountability is a good way to keep yourself to your goals. But a lot of times those people, like kind of what you just talked about, they whether, you know, they might feel threatened and it might bring you down. And then a lot of times they don't do this consciously either. They just kind of, you know, it's all subconscious. They'll just start acting differently around you, or start bringing you down in different ways just by actions or words, without really doing it on, without doing it on purpose, because they don't want to, whether it's they don't want to lose you as the person you are because you're growing and they're not. Like he was saying, a lot of times if people are acting kind of like bringing you down, maybe they're jealous or they're just uncomfortable with the fact that you're growing and they're not, and this is kind of what he was talking about with if we ever get in like a relationship with a person or like a friendship with a person that is more successful than we are, it's kind of holding us in that resistance stage too, because we look at this person, we let them be the person that's aspiring to all these things, and we're just gonna sit here like, oh, that's nice, you can do that, I'm just not gonna, I can't really succeed in anything, I'm just gonna aspire, and that's all you kind of do, just, aspire.
Mm-hmm. Or you can, like, my boyfriend, he's somebody kind of like that, where he's doing all these great things, he's succeeding in his job, and he's, like, really healthy and fit, and when I first met him, I wasn't like that at all, especially the exercising part. So, but because of him, like he's helped me so much. So you can take somebody who's like succeeding in life and just adore them, or you can actually start working on yourself and just ask them for help. And that's what he does. He helped me.
That's awesome. That's really good.
Yeah. I mean, it's not always a negative. I guess.
No, that's good. I'm glad that, that's the effect that he has on you. I think that's really important to kind of see too, where, like, how each person is affecting you and, like, why you're there too. I think it's really a great thing if the other person's, actually motivating you to be better, and instead of just being this aspiration or inspiration and just kind of like, oh, look at me, I'm just awesome, and you can just, yay, props to you for being with me. It's more like, how can we grow together and how can we inspire each other and just, be better people, because I think that's really important, like, where we should always be growing and being, getting better day by day. So, yeah. I wrote a couple quotes that I really liked. One thing that was really interesting is something, so I've been reading a lot of just different books, so some of them were more spiritual books, some of them are just psychology and, like, business books, and one quote in the first quote that I actually highlighted, I don't remember where it was because I just wrote it all out, is when I looked in the mirror, I thought I was looking at me, but really I was looking at my ideas about me. So I think this is really related. Which book is it? Have you guys read Byron Katie's Loving What Is?
No.
So she talks about like pretty much everything everything you see and, like, the people that you interact with a lot of times, or pretty much all the time. You don't really see them, you see the stories about them, and, like, your own stories are projected onto these people, and that's kind of how it's affecting you. And it's all about, and then there's other books I wrote about just, like, overall projection. So rather than seeing things for how they are, you see things based on the story, or, like, what he says, I was looking at my ideas about me. So it's not really looking at things objectively. You're never really looking at things objectively. It's always kind of more subjective, based on the stories that you have about what's going on, about yourself, about the world, the people that you see, someone's annoying you or something, or, maybe they're succeeding so much more than you, and you feel jealous, and you feel like you're comparing yourself. You're like, oh man, I'm never going to be able to get there, like, when I just feel sad, because that's pretty often the case with entrepreneurs, or, especially ones that are starting out. And it's really, you're not really angry at the person, or you're not really jealous of the person. It's really more about the stories and ideas that you have about yourself that you're projecting onto that person, and that's kind of like the loop that happens. I thought it was really an interesting thing. Do you guys have anything to, any rebuttal, or, like, anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, like, I kind of agree with that, and it's like, with seeing things differently, like, with maybe not with taste, but, like, the same way you see something, it's not exactly the same way I will see something. So we have different points of view, and if you take it a step further, it is exactly about like you were talking, that it's all your projection. So you can see that there is a realistic point to that, and as well having your own story. So when, let's say, you meet somebody for the first time, and they have certain, body type, or they speak certain language, or they have certain accent, because you have your own story, or let's say you had a bad experience with somebody or something in the past, you don't have that clean canvas. So how you see them is affected by your own story. So I don't think we ever have, like, a clean white canvas in any circumstances. We're all affected by our own experience. That's how we see things.
Absolutely. And I think a good example would be going to Hilda, no longer working, or did you quit, or you quit, right? To start your own. Yeah, so for example, you meet someone and you're just like, yeah, I just quit my job. One person might be like, oh my gosh, what are you going to do with yourself? Like, that sucks. Like, you're so crazy. Why would you do that? Like, you're, why? Why are you even doing this? Another person, like, probably an entrepreneur or someone that's just super motivated, be like, oh, good for you. Like, kind of how we are, like, congratulations, this is awesome, like, so exciting. So excited for you. Maybe, like, a family member would just be concerned, like, oh, are you sure? I'm not sure. Do you want to move in? Like, do you want to move back in? Like, how can I help you? How can I, take care of you? And there's all these different reactions, and there's, like, 100 more that could also happen. And it's the same situation. Like, the fact is, there's Hilda quitting her job. that's the fact. Like, that's all that happened. Quit her job. And there's all these different, and like, you know, we don't really know how it happened or like what happened, but if there was more people here, I'm sure all these people would have different kind of storylines of like how this could have happened, what led up to it, what's going to be next, like thoughts about you as a person, like why would you do that? It's like, yay, great, awesome, good for you. So I think that's really interesting, and it definitely illustrates that point a lot more too.
Yeah, it definitely, like, when I tell people the past couple of days that I quit my job, it's been it's been a range of, why did you do that? Are you crazy? I wish I had that courage. And like, you too, your excitement. That was the first time I got that, so thank you. So my mom was like, are you going crazy? I mean, like, it was so interesting, but I was
Can I tell you something? Because I quit my job as well a while back. And talking to what you're going through now, and talking about what we talked before about certain people, how they're going to affect you. I did not tell my parents for about 4 months that I quit my job. They never knew, because I decided it's just so important in my life that I'm going to protect it for any price. Like, this is so important to me now. So I'd never told them for 4 months, because I knew they're going to be so scared and negative about it. I was like, this is the price I'm going to pay, and that's it. So sometimes kind of, especially I think talking to parents, it might set off their fear, not yours, but theirs. So kind of sometimes you have to be prepared for that you have to protect your little baby, your little project now. So well on you. Well done.
Thanks. Yeah, Facebook kind of gave it away to my mom. I'm not quite sure how that happened, and I was like, crap, I wasn't going to tell her. So, but, yeah, but it's out, and it's cool. I mean, and it's just interesting, and a lot of people, speaking of the stories that we project on others, like when I'm talking to them, they start talking about their own lives and how they wish they could do certain things. So I'm like, look, I did it, so you can do it too. Nothing's stopping you. So you gotta stop being afraid and do what you want to do. So.
Yeah, and that actually leads me to another quote that I really liked. That was right after I wrote it after the first one that I said, and it says, "The best and only thing that one artist can do for another is to serve as an example and an inspiration." So, Hilda, there you go.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Serving as an example and inspiration to, you know, the people that are saying you're so courageous. I wish I could do that, opening up about their own lives, and you know, wishing they could do the same. So that's really cool. I don't remember what the context of this quote was. It's a good quote, but I think there's more to it than that. I don't know why I only selected that little tidbit, but I think that's yeah. So were you guys, since both of you have quit your jobs, I'm still working. I love my job, so like I don't want to quit anytime soon. But were you guys like scared or terrified or just like relaxed about quitting your job? What were the feelings that you guys were kind of going through?
I was miserable, and my health was starting to take a toll, like in my relationship, because there was just, where I was working, there was a lot of drama. It was like high school, and everybody was afraid of our boss. And I
Where did you work before this?
What?
Where did you work?
It was a produce company. I'm not going to say which one, but we sold sweet potatoes. We actually supply, I think, 10% of the U.S.'s sweet potatoes.
Nice.
Most of Walmart. So, yeah, so the biggest thing was I was afraid I wouldn't be able to come up with money. But then I realized I have all this talent, and I was like, you know what, it's time to pursue my dream, and I can do, you know, little things on the side to make money, because I was tired of not living the life I wanted to live. And I just got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm 27, which is still young, but, you know, I've almost lived 3 decades, and there's so much I wanted to do in my life, and I felt where I was keeping me stuck in a place that I didn't like. So I guess you kind of have to reach a point where you're like, leaving will make your life better than what it currently is. And that's the point where I was at. And as soon as I decided that I was going to quit and I picked a day to quit, it made my life so much better and I was so much happier. And then I quit and I'm like, my boyfriend was like, you've already lost 10 pounds because you stopped stress eating and you're sleeping and you're not worrying all the time. So, and I'm doing things I've meant to do and I planned on doing that I just didn't have time to do, but now I have the time. So, and I'm, working on starting my business, and it's just, once you decide that your life is going to be better, if you leave whatever situation you're in and you can plan for it, then I think your life becomes better. So that was, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I kind of knew things were not right for a while, and I was working in finance before, so I was working in private banking, and I think I kind of knew something was off for a good long time, but I thought with every single promotion, every time I changed department, or every time I got promoted, I was thinking, oh, that's going to be the answer. Now everything is going to work out because I have this other job. And I expected kind of a miracle to come from a new job, that it's going to give me the answers, but that never happened. And I kind of kept moving from one position to another position, and after 6 months, I was feeling the same. And once I got the job that I really was aspiring to, I got promoted to private banking, and I thought, this is it now. This has to be all the answer. And very similar thing happened. After 6 months, I was like, this is not exactly what I expected. Things are no different here that they were in different places. And I started to change, I think so. I started to become more negative and more kind of, just come and do your thing, go home. And it's just not nice to be like that. And I didn't like myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to watch a lot of videos and got interested in life coaching. So, but I didn't realize there is anything like that here in Dublin. And then I think, just as Steven Pressfield says, just start and things will happen. He attaches this magical kind of a meaning to the fact of starting or sitting down to something. And I think that's what happened with me. When I kind of started looking into it, I found a college in life coaching, I found this and that and the other. And that's how it actually came together, from not even knowing what this is all about. And I kind of thought I never fitted into a place that, like, I was good at my job, but I think it sounds funny, but I was too positive. I was just happy and excited, and I was like a big happy space hopper, and it just didn't fit in. And you come in every day happy because you're alive and it's a new day, and you just meet with grumpy faces, and you just think like, that's not normal. That's not the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I was always a bit kind of a weird like that.
That's how it was where I worked at. I was the only very happy person all the time, and everybody else was so grumpy. And my boss was so grumpy, and he hated how I was happy, and he would always try and cut me down. And
That's ridiculous.
That's why my ex-coworkers are like, I wish I had the courage. And I'm like, just do it. Just leave him, break up with him. But I mean, when you're like the only happy person at a place, then something's wrong. So.
Yeah, definitely. To me, I think the environment and like the setting, the people are a huge part of any successful, company or anywhere you're working at. So yeah, I definitely, agree with that. And also one of the reasons why, I don't want to quit my job anytime soon is because, it's feeding kind of, it's very similar to what I do as a business. So, I'm a business coach, and I do the marketing and the mindset. And at my agency job, I pretty much do marketing as well, except focused on social media. And it feeds my kind of creativity and inspiration in a different way, because I get to work with bigger clients where, you know, in my business coaching I work with solopreneurs, so it's just kind of like a different piece of the puzzle. But if I didn't work with the people I work with, which are really great, awesome people, very inspiring, enthusiastic individuals, I probably would not be working there. So definitely, definitely.
That's a really cool environment to have. Yeah, that's brilliant. It's kind of fun to hear that there are places like that. You know, kind of like, whoa, there are places like that.
Yeah.
Because you hear so many negative stories, and I think that's why I'm a bit happier now, because like when I was in corporate world, no matter who you asked, they were talking, oh yeah, this job is so bad, I hate my job, I don't like this, I don't like that. And you never heard anybody at all really saying, oh yeah, I actually like my job. I remember bumping into somebody from absolutely different field altogether, and he says he likes what he does. And I actually was like, whoa, I haven't heard somebody saying that in such a long time. It's just like completely different environment, very different vibe when you in a place where you enjoy being, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's like, it's become, I mean, it depends obviously who you're around too, but a lot of times I feel like people feel like it's more acceptable to complain about their job rather than say, oh yeah, I actually love going to work. I actually look forward to a Monday. Like, most of the time people are just like, oh man, it's Monday again. Like, I hate my job. I wish I, you know, stay at home. And people, a lot of times they do enjoy their job, but they just don't want to be that weirdo that's like excited to go to work and be like, who is this guy? Why is he so happy to be here? It doesn't make any sense. Like, can you just be miserable with everyone else like a normal person?
Yeah.
So it's interesting that it's like more acceptable to be negative about that kind of stuff, which is kind of sad too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should enjoy your work. Like, you don't have to start your own business to have a, you know, to live your passion. Like, what you're doing it as a day job and with your own business. And I just wish, you know, I just wish that I had had that opportunity, I guess. But I'm glad with what the path I'm going down now. So.
Yeah,
So you're going to be a life coach. Yeah, that's great. So another thing I wanted to ask you guys is, did you feel a lot of resistance around starting your own business?
I think I'm feeling more resistance now, to be honest, when it's happening, when I've been at it for a while. And it depends, what is it? It's a resistance about certain aspects. When I quit my job and I started my business, I was very excited. So I think when you're excited and driven by something, you don't feel that resistance. But now I think I'm feeling it even more when I'm coming to a stage of putting yourself out there. Because when you're working on it in your own, let's say, space or your own office and all, nobody knows it, it's okay, it's safe. But when you have to go out there, and I think for me, crucial moment was when you had to, somebody asked me what I do, and I remember I just could not say it. I just could not say it, I'm a life coach, because I wasn't thinking of myself as one. So I think that's where my resistance kicks in now, to actually go out there and say, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a life coach, I am this and that thing and the other. That's when the resistance kicks in, and all the other voices, and just being seen and being exposed to people reacting to you differently. That's where my resistance kicks in, and I think that's what Pressfield was talking about. That is the fear of how people will judge you. That is a part of a resistance, so that links with the fear.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hold on.
So I kind of stumbled into, I guess, my own business because I fell into network marketing with Beachbody and their fitness programs. So I didn't realize what network marketing was. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's a fine business model. But for me, I'm the type of person who has to, I guess, I like certifications. I'm just one of those people. And so now I'm getting like a coaching certification. And I know plenty of coaches now who don't have any certification, and they're amazing and they're doing so great in their business. But for me, I just felt like I needed it. So now that I'm doing that, I feel more legitimate, I guess. And it's more comfortable saying I'm a life wellness coach than saying, oh, I'm a Beachbody coach, which is network marketing. Like, for some reason, it just felt weird to me, even though there's nothing wrong with it. So when I first started, I was super excited, and then I realized what network marketing was, and so I was like, I don't know if I like this. And then when I realized that I could do coaching, just coaching where I offer one-on-one and group coaching and things like that, I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. So now I'm like really excited. And it's just, I mean, I'm sure I'll go through another period where I'm like facing resistance, and I think it's just an ebb and a flow where you go up and down, and you just have to remember that you're doing your life's work, and it's not always going to be perfect. It's like a relationship. You get into fights, but you still love each other. So that's how I'm trying to view it.
Wow, so true. So well said.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand what you're. Yeah, it's interesting. I never really thought about the fact that, yeah, when you're first starting something out, you're super excited, and you don't feel that resistance because you're kind of, on that high of excitement. Like, it's just, you don't even, you're just like invincible, and you're doing everything, but eventually, you're gonna hit a wall, and it's all about how you deal with that once you do, because it's gonna happen. Like, it always, it's inevitable. Like, it's gonna happen, and it's all about how you deal with that. How do you move forward after that happens? So that's really interesting, I think, because I remember, I definitely have had plenty of resistance in my life too. With every venture that I've done, this being my third, and I definitely felt a lot of resistance, and I didn't, back to Anna's point, being comfortable with calling yourself an entrepreneur, I just really got comfortable with, saying that I'm an entrepreneur too. Like, I've been doing, I've had a photography business for like 5 to 6 years. I never called myself, like, I never even called it a business. I didn't call it a business ever. Like, I was just like uncomfortable saying, I'll just be like, oh, because I did it when I was still a student at university. So I would just say, oh, I'm just a student. I take pictures. I'm a photographer. Like, whatever. It's not a big deal. But I was like, supporting myself through my photography. So it's like, obviously I'm, getting all my clients. I'm working every weekend with my projects, and, building a huge community of people that were just like contacting me, just by finding me by themselves. I don't even have to like market myself that much after the initial snowball effect happened. And I still was not comfortable with saying I have a business. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a photography business, which is like, and now I'm it's interesting how you really have to get through those different mind blocks and just be comfortable with expressing who you are. Because if you really want something to happen with what you're doing, you have to be comfortable, talking about it. Because if you're not comfortable talking about it, it's not, it's not going to lead anywhere either.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, that goes back to the point of what he was saying in the book about turning pro. He says, like, once you're a pro, this is your business. This is serious. It's not like, oh, I'm kind of a photographer. I do a bit of a photography. It's like, you are a photographer. That's it. There is no buts in it.
Yep.
This is it. And I think he's really clever about that and very wise, because, yeah, this is true. When you call yourself and admit to yourself, this is my business. I'm a life coach. As scary as it is, something clicks, and then you think, yes, this is serious. I have to put in work. I'm serious about that. This is my baby now. I have to look after it. And I think it gives you a lift as well and makes you feel like, yes, I am serious about this. And you start to, it translates into how you see yourself. And then you start to see yourself, I am a businesswoman. I am an owner. I am this or that. And that, I think that it kind of gives you a bit more power or gives you a bit of fuel, extra fuel. So that's really good about that moment of turning pro.
Yeah, and you just kind of, you do it because you just feel like that's your life, like that's your life, that's your lifestyle, like that's a part of it, and no matter what happens, it's going to be a part of what you do and a part of what you are. And I want to read another quote that he said, which is kind of, I feel like it could be a little controversial too.
Go for it.
Yeah, this whole book is pretty controversial, I think, but especially when we like identify with being a certain thing rather than just allowing it to happen. So this is actually really interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So it says, the amateur, on the other hand, over-identifies with his avocation, his artistic aspiration. He defines himself by it. He is a musician, a painter, a playwright. Resistance loves this. Resistance knows that the amateur composer will never write his symphony because he is overly invested in its success and over-terrified of its failure. The amateur takes it so seriously it paralyzes him. So it's kind of like over-identifying with what you're doing and expecting an outcome. And I think a lot of times this plays into whatever we're doing. So for example, if you're going back, I don't know, I keep going back to the book writing part. I'm not trying to write a book right now, but this is what I can think of. And it's also kind of going with the external motivation too, I think, is in here, because if you think it's going to fail, if you think it's going to succeed, whichever way it's going to go, it's still going to be based on what the public says. It's what the external world is going to say. It's not about how you feel. It's not about the fact that you completed it. It's not, which is the pro would just do it because he wants to complete it for his own benefit, and like he just needs to do this because it's his life's work. But an amateur would do it, because he thinks it's going to succeed, because he thinks it's a really great idea and it's going to do awesome, and that's the only reason. But if he, on the other hand, if he starts writing and it's like, man, people are going to hate this. I don't know. I don't think this is a good idea, and he, just leaves it by the wayside halfway through. That's also a way to see, well, you're an amateur, you're not a pro, because you actually care too much about what what people are saying, what people might think, or whether it's going to succeed or not, rather than just doing it because it's like your life's work and this is what you feel like you need to do with your life. So I'd love to hear your thoughts just on that quote and just that whole premise of that.
Yeah, it's quite complex. I think you have to strike the balance between giving it all your heart, because I think that's what you have to do. If you want to succeed, you have to give it all your heart. There's no kind of stepping away from something or kind of retaining a bit, because that's not going to work. And between detaching yourself from the outcomes of it, and for me, that's what rings the bell. That's kind of my take on this verse, that you have to do your best, but you still have to detach yourself from the result of that passion or this journey that you're going onto, because you have in control only certain things. So let's say how much work are going to put in, how hard you're going to try, or all these other bits and pieces, but you have no control over other aspects that are very broad. So if you're going to be very attached to and very rigid about what you're doing or identifying yourself with it very much, if something goes wrong out of your control zone, this might crush you. So you have to put out everything you have there, but at the same time, I'm doing all the best from my side. I cannot control the rest of it. I'm just leave it at that.
Yeah,
that's my take on it.
Absolutely. And I think too especially with artists, it's kind of harder for like business owners that are trying to like make a living off this. But I think a great example would be, the painters and like the writers that didn't get really recognized for their work until they passed. If they, if they weren't pro, if they were amateurs, they would put out this paint, or like they would create this painting, and no one would care. Like, I don't care about this painting. Why? Like, whatever. And if they were an amateur, if they weren't listening to their, to their calling, they would just, whatever. All right, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go do something else. But they continued, and they like all these different famous artists, you know, they continued doing what they felt was just they needed to do with their life. This is what they thought was, they just loved doing it, and that's what they wanted to do no matter what. And then, you know, eventually, you know, after they died, well, now we're like, oh yeah, this is actually great. But that just kind of, you know, explains that. Yeah, I'm sure they felt kind of, you know, crappy during their life for not being respected, or, you know, I mean, I don't know how they felt, but also it was a different era, so probably kind of different. Yeah.
So that quote was actually one of the parts of the books that I loved the most, because for me it was I felt I'd been told so much throughout my high school and college years that I was a great writer, that I was awesome or whatever, but then I let it like paralyze me. So then I didn't write. I didn't write for years and years. And then when I decided I wanted to start a business, I was like, well, I have to do a blog. And it took me. I had a blog with nothing posted for like 3 or 4 months, like, and it was because I was so scared. I was like, people would hate what I wrote. And then when I read that, I was like, I'm not an amateur, I'm a pro. I love to write. So so it got me finally to write on my blog, and people who have seen it love it, and if they didn't love it, I mean, whatever, because I liked it. And I'm going to keep writing because I like what I write. So
Right.
and
Right.
and it kind of reminded me of this video by Ira Glass called The Gap. I don't know if you've seen it, but you should go to YouTube and find it, Hourglass, The Gap. And it talks about how when you first start writing, you really want it to be good, or whatever you do. It doesn't have to be writing. You really want it to be good, but it's never quite what you like, but you still have to keep putting it out, because the more you do it, the more your writing or whatever you're doing becomes what you want it to be. But you have to keep doing it, which kind of ties in with something else Steven Pressfield talked about, which was that you have to have patience and keep doing things, and you can't just give up on yourself or your business or whatever you're doing. You have to keep going because it will pay off.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I really like that part. Because I think, like, when you're excited, you want to see a result yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think it just hits close when I read that you have to be patient, and that a pro knows that he can put in the work, but the results are not going to be seen, you know, immediately. And I was just reading this thinking, I don't want to hear that.
I totally can relate to, like, the patience. And I just remembered when he was talking about, I don't remember what he referred it to, but he was talking about Arnold's, like, whenever he feels down, like, where does he go? He goes to the gym, and this is his like sacred place or whatever. This is where he feels most himself, and like, no matter, and this is kind of like, you know, what is that thing you go to no matter what that just makes you feel better. And like, for you to get to that point too, you do have to have patience, and maybe in the beginning it's not really gonna grow, but if you feel like at home when you're doing it, and you feel like this is your zone, like, eventually it's gonna become fruitful, because just, you know, that's how that goes. The more consistent and persistent you are, you know, it's gonna pay off. But it's just a matter of how long is it gonna take. You know, we're pretty much a society of wants instant gratification, and we really, you know, it's hard to be okay with delayed gratification, with delayed results. And this is a huge part of, you know, this is huge for like fitness, or, you know, health related, or just anything that has to do with the well-being of another person or yourself, or growth and development of, you know, personal development. Like, it's not going to be a one-time thing. Like, I might want to, you know, okay, well, I'm going to become healthy now, and it's like, and if I've been eating takeout the past, like, all my life, and then one day I'm just like, well, I'm gonna be healthy now. Like, it's not gonna be like all of a sudden you're just like this new person. It's like, hey, well, you know, this is me. Might happen for like 2 days, but you have to be consistent with it for it to become your life and your lifestyle, and then, you know, eventually it can shift, and then you feel comfortable in that kind of area. This is kind of not related to necessarily like a talent thing, but it's still related to like habits and just being comfortable with being uncomfortable and having that patience to move forward with something that you feel like is the right thing for you to do.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and managing those voices that we mentioned a few times, managing what you hear. And I think one of the best quotes, like you have amazing quotes on every single page of that book, like literally. One of them that I actually liked, I'm gonna read it out to you. And I think it goes for anything that you really do in your life. It says, it's one thing to lie to ourselves, it's another thing to believe it.
Mm.
So it was a really cool thing because I felt like it's okay for me to hear the voices saying, you're not good enough, this is not going to take off, da 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 da. It's normal, but you can detach yourself from that because it's a different thing if you believe it. So it's
yeah.
okay to hear it. They're going to talk to you, but it's not the same thing as believing in them.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, that's pretty big. Yeah.
I think it gives a lot of power back to us too, because it kind of makes it normal that everybody does hear those voices, and it's okay to hear that, but you just have to realize that it's just the resistance talking. It's not the truth, and it's always going to be there no matter what. Like, they're never going to go away, but it's a matter of just not listening and knowing better.
Yeah, if that's any help to you, what I started to do. Oh, and talking about this book is when I start because I read it the second time now, just before our meeting, and what I noticed going through it the second time, this book is very similar to The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks.
Mm.
He talks about upper limit problem, and this book talks about resistance. But a lot of things, once you kind of read two books, are very, very similar.
Mm.
Um, what I was going to say, so he talks there about when you spot the upper limit problem here, like resistance. So they're kind of similar kind of terms. So if you spot it, you can say to yourself, okay, I see you. I know what you're trying to do. Now get out. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I started to do as well. I start to kind of notice, okay, this voice is telling me this, or I feel about resistant about that. I see you, buddy. I know what you're doing. Now, get lost. And it
Yeah.
really works. For whatever reason, kind of feel like, I know you're there. I'll see you. Out. So give it a go. Try it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's huge. So we're going to close out soon, but I do have one more quote that I wanted to share, which is the one that I actually pondered upon the most. It's very simple. So if I were the last person on earth, would I still do it? So that's, I think, a really great way to think about whether what you're doing, like whatever project you do, whatever business you're doing, whatever industry you're in, is this really something that you want to do? Because a lot of times we kind of get lost in the thought of like, oh, I don't know, do I actually like this? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. It's like, but if there was no one else to impress out there, if you were just you by yourself, would you still be doing it? Which is also kind of hard to, I think, relate to every industry, because, like, for example, for the things that I do, not art-related, photography I would definitely still do, but in terms of, like, marketing and stuff, it kind of relies on other people being there, so it's kind of, like, I was just like, oh, man, I don't know who I would be marketing to or about, because that's kind of what I do. That's, like, my thing. But the overall, like, idea behind this, I think, is really important. Just, like, if I didn't care, if I didn't, you know, if I could do whatever I wanted and nobody would judge me, would I still be doing this, or would I be doing something that's just more fulfilling to me? And I think it's a nice inquiring question to ask yourself.
Yeah, it's a really cool checkup question. You know, like you're sometimes at the crossroad, or you're doing something for a while, you're in your career for a while, and then you think, do I really love it? Should I be doing for the rest of my life or not? But you sometimes don't have a clear indication. And like, should I quit? Should I stay? And you don't really know 100%. That's a cool question to ask yourself when it's all a bit blurry, to see if there was nothing else involved, if I had all the, power and abilities, would I still be doing it? So that's a cool question to kind of get you the answer. Are you really enjoying it? Is that something for you? So I think it's a kind of a like like a scales for your brain. Do you know when you're dieting and you go on the scales to see if you're doing well? So that's your scales for your brain. Am I going in the right direction, or should I maybe just look at something completely different?
Yeah. Yeah. Hilda, thoughts?
Yeah, I really love that quote. And a way to you can apply it to like your industry or our industry, because we're into coaching, is think, if you're 100 and you're looking back on your life, are there things that you wish you didn't do, or things you wish you did? So that's kind of how I'm looking at life now. And I think, really, we're only here for a smidgen of time, so you have to enjoy what time you have. You shouldn't waste it on things. You shouldn't let resistance or fear or anything like that keep you from doing what you want, I guess.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something, girls? When you read out this quote, or when you're thinking about it now, what did it bring up to you? What picture, image, or what feeling came to you in relation to your job or what you're doing now? What came for you?
If I were the last person on earth, would I still do it? I felt kind of, I felt fear personally. I didn't feel very liberated. And it's probably because, at first I was just thinking, like, what would I do? Because what I do is still relying on other people being there. And I think for me, it was just, I will say most of my life I have looked at the outside world. I'm not perfect. And being an only child, I very independent, but also very wanting kind of that acceptance and, outside approval, because I didn't really get that from anywhere too much from my immediate family, because, my mom was working by herself, and like she was an only, I was grown up by her. My dad was here in the U.S. while I was growing up in Poland, just with my mom working. So I was pretty much like by myself, and I think for me it was just very staggering in a way, because I'm not used to thinking of not looking at other people, what they do, and like kind of how I would like, I can actually think about myself. Like it's okay to think about myself. That was like my first thought. It's like, oh, well, what I actually do. Yeah, so, after a while I was like, okay. And it also made me realize that when I was younger, I used to love to draw, and I did it no matter, like I would just draw all the time. Didn't care, I would be by myself. Most people didn't even see what I drew, but I still drew all the time. And the older I got, the more I stopped drawing, and the more I started thinking of how I can do things that are more appropriate or more acceptable by others, or just more impressive to others, and things like that. And you kind of have to, find that balance, or because obviously it's going to be extremely difficult. I completely admire people that just completely don't care what other people think. I think it's really hard not to care what other people think. And I'm not going to pretend like I don't care, because I do. But that does not mean that I am necessarily ruled by how other people think, because if I did, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now either. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like the part about seeking acceptance. I think that's very common to all of us. Even if you're strong and independent, as you said, you still look for the acceptance. I think we humans just need it to feel secure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I brought up for you, Hilda, when you heard that quote.
I was like, oh, I just sit in a meadow and stare at the clouds all day. But that's because when I grew up with 3 brothers, and being the only girl, you get left out a lot. So that's what I did growing up. So it was like I was always by myself for a long period of time. So I was just actually felt like, I love people. I love being around people. But I was like, oh, it'd be cool just to just to do whatever I want and not have to think about consequences.
What about you, Anna?
I think I kind of looked at it completely different than you both. Because just maybe my mindset is slightly in a different place at the moment. But when you read it all out, I was just thinking, okay, would I still be doing this, like helping people prepare for interviews, for job interviews, if there's nobody else watching me? If I didn't hear somebody else's opinion on me and what I do? If I didn't have to worry about the money? If all these bits and pieces that are worrying were removed, would I still be doing it? And do you know what I felt? A smile and sunshine and joy. Like they all just came together, like this big warm ball of sunshine. And I was just, yes, I would. And I was just, that just, like, I felt the joy. I was just, yeah, of course I would. It just, yeah. So it's very rare for me to have that coming up, because for me, a lot of the time is the self-doubt or worry. Worry is quite prominent for me. So that was kind of really interesting. I love experimenting on myself. So that was quite interesting to see it so strongly, that the emotion that came in for me was actually joy of helping others prepare for the interview and do the best interview they can. It was just big smile, you know. So that was interesting. So obviously it brings up for me that, yeah, you're in the right place, but shows me aware as well where my resistance is coming from. So my resistance is not coming from thinking I'm in the wrong career. Mm-hmm. It's coming from being exposed or worrying what others think, and let's say money worries and other things. So it's good to ask you that question, so then you know where is your resistance coming from, mm-hmm. and that's when you know how to tackle it. So now I know what my resistance is exactly. So I know it's being exposed to somebody else's opinion.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting too. And a nice way to think about it too is like, if I was to do this for free, or if I wasn't getting paid for this, would I still do this as well? Because that's kind of how I feel like we all ask ourselves a variation of different questions, and this is the one that I usually ask myself is, would I be doing this for free if someone just asked if I couldn't make any money from this or whatever, like what would I be doing if there was no money involved, no matter what? And like what I do, just marketing and helping other people with that is usually like I still I do it, and I'm just like, I just want to help you get there, and definitely gives me that kind of satisfaction and joy in knowing that I don't even care about that, which, it's not a very sustainable thing necessarily in daily life, because if I was just like giving stuff out for free, I would never be able to afford anything in life. But which is, I think, also very difficult for a lot of people that are so driven by just helping others, and they're so genuine about it, and they feel like it's hard for them to ask for money, because they just seriously, honestly want to help. And it's also striking that balance of, you want to help people, and you would do this regardless of if you got paid or not, but still have to get paid somehow. Different kind of issue. But I wanted to thank you both so much for being my co-hosts on this virtual book club. I really appreciate this. Do you guys have any last words that you wanted to share with anybody that's watching? Let me know. Say it right now.
Guys, read the book. Read the book. It's gonna really help you. It's gonna make you feel more comfortable and think, you know what? It's okay to feel resistance, and that means you're on the right track. And he actually says there is a way of beating it. It's possible. And if I may read you out the last the last verse of it, it says, if resistance couldn't be beaten, there would be no Fifth Symphony, no Romeo and Juliet, no Golden Gate Bridge. Mm-hmm. So it's just so powerful. He says they were feeling it too, but it's possible to beat it. So just keep going, and know that at least 3 of us are feeling the resistance too. So,
yeah. Hilda?
Yeah, just to echo what Anna said, just read the book. And my favorite quote from it was, our job in this lifetime is not to shape ourselves into some ideal we imagine we ought to be, but to find out who we already are and become it. I think that's just hugely important. You are you just need to find out who you are, who you're meant to be, and just fully embrace it. And there's going to be fear, there's going to be doubt, but as long as you know that you're going towards your true north, then you'll be fine.
Absolutely. Well, I already said a lot of quotes that I liked, so I'm not going to end with a quote, but I am going to end. If you are watching this, I would love if you could tweet, click to tweet us on the top of the post, and I would really appreciate you guys spreading the word and having other people, you know, watch this virtual book club session to, you know, hopefully beat their own resistance and, you know, read the book if they feel like this was a helpful session. So thank you so much, everybody.
Pleasure. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys.
What's that?
It's been a pleasure hanging out with you. It's just so cool to hang out with people who just get it.
Very cool.
Absolutely. I do want to share the next book that we will be reading. Let me just pull it up. Hold on. Let me just find it. Okay. So the next book that we will be reading is called... Here, let me do a screen share really quickly. There it is. So the book that we will be reading next is called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and it's by T. Harv Eker. And I'm not going to read all of this, but basically says, the book reveals the missing link between wanting success and achieving it. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to get rich easily while others are destined for a life of financial struggle? Is the difference found in their education, intelligence, skills, timing, work habits, contacts, luck, or their choice of jobs, businesses, or investments? The shocking answer is none of the above. And blah, blah, blah. The author states, give me 5 minutes and I can predict your financial future for the rest of your life. And he does this by identifying your money and success blueprints. And we all have this blueprint apparently, and basically the book is all about that. So we will be probably talking about this. Here, let me go back to myself. We will be talking about the next session. We're probably, so today is, it's September, so the next one will probably be in sometime in November or early December, probably in 2 or 3 months or so. But if you guys want to get the book now, you should definitely go for it and start reading. I heard it's a really good book. I have not read it yet, but it should be a good one. So I will see you, everybody, at the next session. And if anybody wants to hit any of us girls up, we have the links to the ladies' websites on the post above this video. And if you're watching on my website, CamilaGornia.com, then that's obviously my website. That's where everything is. So thank you so much, ladies. Have a good the rest of your night, and thank you so much.
Pleasure. All the best, guys.
Okay.
Bye.